Good morning, everyone. Uh, just a reflection in terms of some of the pictures that you'll see that I have as my cover pages. And for this week, I'm using something that has been sent through to me by one of the parishioners who lives in Mhlanga, and thanks to Louise for that. But if any of you have some inspirational material that you'd like to send through to me, just WhatsApp it to me, and if I can use it, I will happily do so. And otherwise, we run into all sorts of copyright issues and so forth. If it's something that's original, then we can use it, and it'd be wonderful to do that. We have an interesting commemoration today, and it is the first martyrs of Rome. And that happened in the time of Nero, when there was a big fire in Rome and damage, and speculation Nero might have said to himself, but he blamed the early Christians, and as a result, he went on this rampage and persecuted Christians and put many of them to death in the most horrible way. And so we commemorate today those first early Christians who died in Rome for their faith. The Old Testament reading is quite interesting today because it's in Genesis chapter 18, and almost shows us that we can negotiate with God and try to persuade him to change his mind, because we find the interaction between Abraham and God, and it's about Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham's trying to say to God, well, surely if there's some good people in there, you can't put them to death. And slowly but surely, Abraham kind of sort of cuts back, and eventually God says, look, even if there's a very few good men, then I will not put it to death. And as it turns out, we know that Sodom and Gomorrah were wiped out. And some might say, well, how did it get wiped out? Well, we'll have a look in that passage tomorrow. But it's a negotiation that we're looking at that I want to reflect on today. But in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 8 today, we find Jesus saying, follow me and leave the dead to bury their dead. Obviously speaking to a younger man saying, well, what must I do? He said, well, just, follow me. And he said, no, let me go and first bury my father. And he said, no, let the dead bury the dead, and the rest must follow me. And I think what we're obviously seeing there is the distinction that Jesus is making between those people who are spiritually dead. In other words, they are only focused on things of the world. And he's saying, let them go and bury the dead. But those who are spiritually strong, come follow me. And therein is saying to us, what are your priorities? And that's a good question we should ask of ourselves today. Have a wonderful day. Keep well. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.